Today's video is going to shock many of you guys because legitimately it surprised the heck out of me. If you're trying to answer the question of what is the fastest way to defeat a boss fight in Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which character will allow you to do so fastest, that's what we set out to answer today. What's up, guys? How's it going, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and ladies and gentlemen, good googly moogly. Today's video is an absolute doozy. I went ahead and started experimenting with figuring out which character is best to defeat the boss fights in this game. If you don't know, there are a lot of boss fights in Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. In fact, there are 45 levels, and on average, about every 3 or so levels, you will be fighting a boss fight of some sort. And so that obviously adds up to quite a few fights. Now, during those fights, there are plenty of characters that you could utilize. If you're going through the story itself, obviously you're stuck using the characters that the game has allocated to you and the characters that actually fought that fight in the actual story of the Star Wars films. But if you go into free play, that's when you get to go on ahead and play as whatever character you would like to utilize. Now, I went ahead and started doing some research on this, trying to figure out, okay, well, what are other people suggesting? What are other people saying could be viable here? And of course, the default answer is pretty much just use the characters that the game recommends to you, which would be most of the time the Jedis. That's pretty much the characters that you're supposed to utilize in these fights for the boss fights, like with Count Dooku or Darth Maul, etc. And it works decently well. It's not the slowest pace that you can get going with here. It works, generally speaking, quite well. It's not horrible. It's not particularly frustrating, but it does become a little bit tedious because you have to play the routine that the game sets for you. And what do I mean by that? Well, that means that, for example, when Darth Maul or Count Dooku attack, you got to dodge. You got to get out of range. You got to go on ahead and block. But you don't have to do that with the most busted character on this list, which we'll get to in a moment. But before that, I want to go on ahead and mention, of course, guys, don't forget, if you're enjoying the video, any likes would be appreciated. Thank you guys so very much for your support. It is very much appreciated. Of course, you can also support the channel by grabbing some merch if you'd like. Thank you so very much for your support as well. And now, back to the video. And so that makes you kind of think, okay, who else could possibly do well here? Shockingly, actually, the Droideka was one of the common names for characters that I saw throughout different recommended lists. And I kind of thought to myself, you know what? That probably does make sense because the Droideka has that bubble shield that protects the Droideka. And so you get that protection from the offense that the enemy is throwing your way. The problem was more so on the offense that you're throwing at the enemy, which wasn't really all that consistent. It really took a long time to melt down bosses because you're mostly doing very little damage. It's pretty much like tick damage where it's one at a time. Pretty much the same utility that you get from the bounty hunters, the same utility that you get from most of the long-range characters, where you're doing damage, but you're not doing like exceptional damage, and it just takes a pretty long time to get through. On the bright side, though, you do get the benefit of shielding for your character in the form of that bubble shield, which is awesome. And I will say that the Droideka is one of the best characters if you're trying to just get through waves and waves of enemies. It works really exceptionally well. Plus, the Droideka moves unbelievably fast, so you have that benefit going for you as well. Then comes the ace, the character that no one would expect to be the absolute best, and that is the Flame Troopers. Or more importantly, the Incinerator Trooper. Good googly moogly. They do damage. I was shocked by how effective this character is. Over time, when you're using a blaster character or you're using a lightsaber character, the bosses will tend to block those attacks because they can either deflect the laser blast back at your character if you're fighting as a long-range character, like the Droideka, like the bounty hunters, like the scoundrels, the heroes, and the list goes on and on and on. With the Jedi side of things, it doesn't matter which lightsaber character you use. Over time, they will block your attacks, forcing you to change up your combo. You cannot deflect fire. It is impossible to deflect, which means that you are dealing damage at all times. It is so unbelievably effective, so unbelievably useful, and it is by far the character that is best for these particular situations. Furthermore, as I previously mentioned, when you have waves of enemies, the fire works really well in those scenarios as well, because you're able to just go on ahead and hit a bunch of enemies all at once, which means that you're not doing one specific attack per target, but you're doing an overall area of attack or area of effect with your flames. It is insanely, insanely good. And I was absolutely surprised by that. I was like, how good could this be? How effective could this be? And good googly moogly, does it ever work wonderfully. Now, if only you could have had an incinerator trooper with the Droideka bubble shield. If you could have that, that would be the ultimate pick for this video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you have a better character that can defeat bosses even more effectively, overlooking all their blocks, overlooking the attack animations? Because, for example, that's the other thing that's insane about the incinerator trooper, is the fact that most scenarios when an enemy does one of those like jump up and slam down attacks, you're not hitting them with your lightsaber. You're not damaging them, I should say, in that moment. Whereas the flame trooper does. So it is insane how powerful it is. We'll see. Maybe it ends up being patched out in the future. But as of this recording, the incinerator trooper is without a shadow of a doubt the way to go for these boss fights. If you disagree with this video, let me know down in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing what you can suggest as a character that does better. And if, of course, there's a better character, you can be on the lookout for an upcoming video where I will go on ahead and debunk this one. But as of right now, the incinerator trooper is the way to go. The incinerator trooper is the most powerful character in LEGO Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga for boss fights. Let me clarify that.
There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight. Gotta flip it and grip it and go and get an x-ray. What's wrong with me? I just feel weight pushing on my chest and it squeezes till I suffocate. Better change my mindset, meditate. It's pretty cool that I'm alive and have better days. I could walk, see, hear, I should celebrate. Think I could change my mind.